Good evening, everybody. This is Gil with Camppatton Family Compound. I'm here with Tammy at Rebel Canners and Mark at Chef Tech, and we welcome you to the Monday Night Fireside Chat. And tonight's topic, canning fats. And how's everybody doing out there? Let me hop over here. I've got some more people popping in here, so let me make sure I say hello to everybody properly for us. All right, first one in was Shady Hill Homestead, followed by Tammy saying hi to them, and then Phelan Clan Wolf. Walt Rogers came in, Wendy Gardner, Jack at Geeky Gardens, Sue Me came in on your side, Tammy. Kaylin Strain is here. And CB from Hugo Homestead's in the house. And Lewis just jumped in. It's the Marshmallow Man. And he's asking a question, and we're going to be getting to that. Rocky Watson just came in on your side there, Tammy. All righty. So it's everybody. Yeah, so this one, when I first put it in there, I figured, are we going to be able to spend much time on this or not? And then when I started pulling up images for the slides I'm going to show here in a second, it's like, wow, okay, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. And while Tammy and I were talking beforehand, some more stuff came up that I've totally forgot about too. So there is a lot to cover here tonight than what I thought. All right. Helena M. just came in on your side as well, Tammy.
Hello, thank you.
One of the things I want to point out here is, of course, we have another hurricane making its way across the Gulf of Mexico. And unfortunately, Geeky Gardens is right in the path.
Ooh.
So, guys, prayers and stuff to him. He's hoping it's predicted to be a Cat 1 by the time it crosses over him. Let's hope it's a Cat 0.5 or less. So
they're saying it's going to be they need to redo the numbers and make it a Cat 6.
Oh, that's going to be a topic on Wednesday night. I am moving the midnight ride this week from Thursday to Wednesday night on Gray Man Prepping, the midnight ride with Gray Man Prepping. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about on Thursday night.
Wednesday night. Wednesday
night, correct. Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, because that is midnight down in Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, right now it's a Cat 5, 185 mile an hour winds. And we're going to talk all about why there isn't a Cat 6 or a Cat 7. And it's laziness, actually. Well, we're going to get into that on there.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah. So tonight, let me bring it up here, and we're going to quickly go over here on the slides some different types. Like I said, I found more after I got this put together. So first and foremost, lard.
What'd you call me?
I've called you Picard.
Oh, Picard. Okay, yeah. Lardy Picard.
And of course, we'll cover everything that lard's good for, but this is the way it should look when it's cool. And you can see hot on the left, cool on the right.
Gold. I love it when my beef tallow does that. It's gold, and I come down in the morning and it's bright white. I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, speaking of tallow, that's rendered beef fat.
Mm-hmm. I got a pint in the fridge right now waiting to go in the canner next load.
Yeah. And look at that's all freshly out of a canner because it's all nice and golden. And this is the allowed to cool until white and solid. That was on the picture I pulled there, and that's why I pulled this picture, because you can see it changing color from the different batches they did. So
I guess I'm like ultra rebel with my beef tallow because I do a lot of it. Mm-hmm. I literally render it. It's hot. I leave it in a pot, make sure it's cooked a little more to make sure there's no moisture left in there at all. Then no more popping sounds, no more bubbles. Skim everything, strain it twice through my cloth, and then I let it go down to probably 200 and change. And I pour it right into my quart jars or pint jars and cap it, lit it. And I've had jars on the shelf downstairs for like 5 years now. They're still sealed. They're not going anywhere. So I've been canning it. Yeah, I thought about it. Ghee, I'll kind of can ghee. That's different. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That's its own topic.
Ghee is a different topic. In fact, it's on the schedule for a different day.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Just seeing who. Oh, Lil Lone Prepper just came in, and Mother Earth Garden Club.
She's doing car work.
Yeah. All right. Back over here, and of course, schmaltz is basically covers chicken, turkey, and goose fat / grease, whatever you want to call it.
See, I never did that.
My grandmother and great grandmother did that a lot. And I grew up with tales from my grandmother talking about how they would use the turkey fat on and the goose fat and even the chicken fat for different things, for like the door hinges, the on the discs and stuff on the farm. They would use that, and therefore the grease on that. And of course, they'd have to grease it every year or twice a year, depending how much they were using it. But yeah, and then of course, Tammy, you want to tell the story about the Amish?
Oh, well, when I went to the museum, they had a museum about how they came from Pennsylvania to Ohio there, and they had the buckets, and it still had the smell from the grease. They used these animal fats that we're talking about today to grease the wagon wheels. And you could still, the one with the bear fat, you could take a whiff of it, and you could still smell that bear fat in that bucket. And it wasn't rancid, it was just, it had, absorbed into the wood.
Yeah. All right, let me bounce back over here now. And of course, Kaylin said, could do the same thing with duck fat. So any type of fowl, basically, especially,
chicken, any kind of poultry or fowl.
Yeah. Are going to, be able, when you cook it down and stuff, you're going to get fat off of it.
Now, I like to use any kind of fat, like if it's beef tallow, pork fat, or chicken fat. I will make my roux out of the fat to make my gravy instead of butter or oil or whatever, just putting flour slurry in there, it works, but tastes like crap for me.
And so some of the things people don't think about, rendering deer tallow.
I do this every year. When we get a deer, we do this every year. A lot of people save it for soap, but it makes a very brittle soap. You have to mix it with some of the other fats, especially like the poultry fat makes a very soft soap. So by mixing these fats and combining them, you can make a really nice bar of soap.
Yeah. And of course, then there is bear fat.
Now we talk about lard being the liquid gold. Bear fat is liquid platinum. This stuff has so many medicinal uses outside of just, using it for eating or cooking. The old timers would use it. They would wipe their joints on the outside like skin lotion, and they would treat their arthritis, is what the wives' tale. One of those old wives' tales.
I know a lot of people up in Alaska that hunt bear on their YouTube channels and that they use the bear fat to season their leather gloves and a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now the pioneers, when they would come across with the wagon trains, they would use these animal fats. When they dismantled their wagons after they built a cabin, they would use some of the canvas to make windows, and they would rub these fats on their canvas to make it waterproof and more see-through like for windows to get some light in.
Yeah, more translucent. Okay, got a couple things in the side chat here.
Yeah, Sean James, I watch him.
First question here is, can you mix poultry fats? Goose it with chicken, duck with, goose, whatever.
Yes. They have slightly different, the burn point, what is it called?
Smoking point.
Smoke point. They have a little slightly different, but very close. So yeah, you could mix them.
Yeah. All right. So that one there. Little preppers, goose grease contains unsaturated fatty acids that support immune health system.
Yes.
Also has a warming effect and be beneficial for upper respiratory.
Yes, they would smear them with poultices and stick them on children's and people's chests to treat things back in the day before modern medicine. Sort of like the theory my mother would take my dad's old sock and slather it with Vicks and throw it around my neck. That was the same thing. They would do that with especially goose grease. Yes.
Yeah. Now we still got more to go through. I don't have any pictures of it because I realized these things afterwards. But once we started talking about Alaska, well, let's see, whale blubber, seal blubber, all came up. And of course, with whale, you got two different things. So you got the processed whale oil, which you can use in your oil lanterns and for as waterproofing on clothing and stuff. The sails of the ships, they put the whale oil on the canvas sails.
Waterproof.
Froze. A lot of the early cowboys have dusters, and they would get the whale oil on that. My son has a duster, and I'm not sure if he was getting whale oil, and he was going to do that to it. I'm not sure if he has done it yet, but because he wants his duster, which I got for him when he became an Eagle Scout when he was 16, to be waterproof that way. But there's, and then of course, besides the whale oil, there's the whale blubber fat, which is used for grease in machinery and stuff back in the early Industrial Revolution.
It's also very important in these cold climates to consume a lot of fat in order to stay warm. And so
that's what the Eskimos, whenever they ate the whale blubber, kept them warm and kept them healthy.
Now, one of the things that most people don't realize about the whale, whales don't live always in the north. They travel south.
They migrate.
Have babies, and then they go back. Well, while they're down south, they're picking up a lot of vitamin D into their system.
Yeah.
And so that the whale blubber, oil, fat, everything has a lot of vitamin D in it, which they need up there in Alaska and northern Canada and stuff.
Fun fact, there's so many vitamins in polar bear liver that if you eat it, it will actually kill you. Because of the vitamin content. Fun fact. So while we think of it being, this climate being, what it is, some things are counterintuitive. But yeah, you can't eat polar bear liver because of the high vitamin content.
Take small bites.
You do eat it. You eat a little bitty piece, and that's it. Not at all, huh?
No. I wouldn't advise non-Indigenous people who don't know what they're doing to have it at all.
Let's see here. Let me go and get that down since I don't need that staring at me anymore on this page over here. So getting back to one of the questions about how, was it Lewis? I think Lewis put it in there. We go back to see Lewis's way. Yeah, he put it in back here farther. I was going to come back to it. So how do you render pig fat and beef fat? So for those that don't know how to do it, Mark, Tammy?
You want to go, Mark? You're the chef.
Sorry, I got a phone call. What'd you say?
Do you want to explain the process of rendering the fat from a chef point of view?
Sure.
You want me to
hey Mo, let me call you back.
I can call you later.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, didn't know.
That's right. He's one of the guys that usually hops on, but he has a different question. So like when I'll buy like whole top rounds or whole pork loins or whole any kind of meat with a lot of fat on it, I trim all the fat off and I process my meat accordingly. All the meat, you chop it up small. You don't want to leave giant slabs and pieces. You can do it two ways. I'll throw it in one of my big cast iron Dutch ovens and just let it slow, and it takes hours, and stir it every now and then. The problem is over time, some of the moisture gets underneath and gets trapped. So when you stir it, you get a lot of popping, and you better be wearing safety glasses because hot oil in the eye, like bacon grease, not good. So I'll render it down and I'll keep it going until there's no more popping. Everything is now all whatever grizzle bits or whatever are left in there are now little. My wife likes to call them chitlins. Yes. They're little tiny grizzle bits that are so deep fried, they're crunchy and tasty. Those get strained out and go in a bowl, a little bit of salt. Pork rinds basically, or beef rinds. We do a lot of beef rinds here. And and then I'll run it through, I'll say cheesecloth. I have some other cloth I use that I'm not going to say where it comes from, but it's sterile.
Muslim.
Muslim. You can use whatever. As long as it's a clean towel. I mean, you're putting hot, you killed anything liquid through it anyway. I'll strain it all out so there's no bits, no parts, no particles, anything. And I'll put it back in the pot. Then I'll do what you call tempering. If you're done with it, you pour it in a jar. Yeah, it's fine. You put it in a jar. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's very soft. Like candles or other things. I put it back in a pot and I just leave it on warm for another few hours. So when I pour it in my jar, it actually gets hard. Mm-hmm. So you have different hardnesses of your fat depending on how long you temper it for. Now you don't want to overcook it. I did that to one, got a little warm. So my beef tallow is no longer white gold. It's now a tan colored gold and actually has a little bit of, it's not burned, but it has like a beef odor, but they make some really great candles. When you temper it right and it's nice and hard, it's like wax. But just the general rendering down, you can do it in a crock pot. A lot of people do it in a crock pot. Don't put the lid on it. Yeah. You got to chop it up nice and small. The smaller you get it, the more surface area to volume ratio there is. So like if you throw a giant slab of fat in there, it's going to take forever to cook down and render out. If you dice it up into little tiny bits or run it through a grinder, if you got a hand grinder or a power grinder, grind it. And the leaf fat is the best because there's hardly any particulate in there like sinews. That's in pork.
That's the part that you find around the kidneys. The leaf fat is the part that you will find around the kidneys. Well, I'm telling it for people that butcher their own or like if you butcher your own deer, you know where to look for that best fat.
Yeah. So when you're rendering your fat, one thing you never want to do is cover it because the moisture needs to leave. Any moisture in there needs to get out. And if you don't let it out, it keeps dripping back into the pot. Then it splatters. Then it'll burn. Crock pot, same thing. Put it on high or medium and just leave it alone. Forget about it. When I do it in a pot, I have those super fine mesh screens that go over my pots for bacon and stuff like that. So if it does pop, you don't shoot grease all over the kitchen and you're cleaning up for days after that.
You want to get the water out so that it doesn't spoil later on too.
Right. And you strain it out. And if you do like I do, and it's all when I do a beef, I'll do a whole top round or inside round, whatever rounds I got, whatever I'm getting from my buddy. All the grizzle, all the silver skin, everything, because there's fat in there too. Everything gets chopped up. I don't run it through a grinder. I just chop it up real small with my knives, throw it in a pan, let it go, because then after it's all cooked, my wife comes home to the smell of like roast beef, which is not roast beef anymore. And there's a bowl of the little crunchies left over, and I just sprinkle some salt on it. And that thing can sit out for days. And it doesn't go bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're good.
Yeah. That's pretty much how I do mine, although I don't do in big batches anymore because I'm not buying like whole cows or half a pork or anything like that. So when I get anything from the store that needs to be trimmed, I'm not scared to get the ones that need trimmed a little bit. I will trim that and put it in a bag. And when I get enough in my refrigerator freezer to do a batch, I will then do a batch.
And even when I do bones, like I'll get like, 40, 50 pounds of bones, get them sawed up into small pieces. I'll roast them first. You get a lot of fat off of that. Well, that fat goes into the pot anyway. Then I'll make my bone broth, and then all the fat that comes out of there, that gets strained off. And then that gets rendered down the rest of the way and strained out and filtered out into tallow. You can use a coffee filter, but you're going to use a lot of coffee filters because you're going to put some stuff in there and it's going to drain pretty quick. And you're going to see it and be like, this is great. This is great. And all of a sudden I got a lot of fluid in there and it's not really dripping. That's because it clogged. Those filters clog up real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that this last weekend. I was just doing some big pot roasts, and so I put a thing of broth in there, put the pot roast in there, put the powdered onion, powdered garlic, and everything in there, and the salt. And I did 2 in a row, and then I strained it so I could put it in the fridge overnight so I could do some more the next day. And that stuff was beautiful golden when I got them strained. But I went through 3 filters to strain what was in the crock pot.
Yeah.
But okay, we just had 2 people come in here for you, Tammy. On your side, David Knight.
Hi, David.
And
Angels
Homestead. Now, look, got a question for you guys here from Little Lone Prepper. Do you remove the marrow first?
No, never.
No, I want that in my broth. That's healthy. That's pure nutrition.
Now, I use my, I know first time I did it, I was kind of like, I really don't want to do this. I use my 930 and I pressure cooked the beef bones. And I was like, I really don't want to just do raw food into this pot, but it's fine. I did that. And with the bones, marrow, everything, fat, you name it, it was in there. Every little bit of flavor and nutrition you can get out of those bones. Yeah. In the pressure cooker it goes. I probably let it go for like 2 hours just for no reason, just because the more, the better. And then when I was done with that, I let it cool down. I ladle off the top. I don't stir it. I may pull the bones out, let it sit for a bit, but I'll ladle off the top through a coffee filter or some kind of good filter because there's not as much particulate in the top. It all settles to the bottom. Once I get down near the bottom, I'll trade pans and pots and jars and things, new filter that, and I'll pour the rest through, and it'll clog that sucker up real quick. And then everything all the bones that came out of it, they're nice and usually soft, and I can give it to the dog. Although I have a German Shepherd that for some reason just doesn't really care about beef bones anymore. I think after I pressure can it or cook it, there's no flavor left to it. I took it all. He doesn't want it anymore. There's nothing there. If I give him a raw one, he's loving it. But the marrow, all that marrow is all the protein and all the collagen, everything else that you get from bone broth. That's in the marrow too. So, you definitely want to cook the marrow. Don't take it out. Some people, I'll roast mine, and you can take a spoon and eat some of the marrow out of there. It's creamy. I'm not fond of it, of the texture. The flavor's great. So I normally don't eat the marrow. You probably spread it on toast, Tammy.
Probably. Most definitely.
Or little crackers
if it would make it as far as the toast, that'd be great. But it's just like a spoon. I've since I was a kid, I've liked it. I don't know why.
So
I was never a marrow fan.
You don't put it on the little crackers like it's caviar?
No, I just take a spoon and go for it.
eat it.
I always wanted the steaks that had the bones that were cut and had the marrow in them.
Yeah, the chuck steak with the big eye with the eye bone in it. Yep.
Yep. That was always my favorite.
My mom we'd always let my mom have that because my dad didn't like it. I didn't want it. She would take it. She'd eat whatever steak was left on the bone because she gave us everything else. And she'd just sit there with her fork or spoon, just scraping out the marrow and eating it. I'm just like, I don't know. I think that kind of threw me growing up. I was like, why would you eat? Now, if she had given me some when I didn't know what it was, I might have been like, oh, I like that. But she didn't. So I'm just not. I don't really like the texture. But the nutrition value is huge.
Huge.
Yeah, when I was growing up, my dad used to get all the bones from us, get the marrow out of it, and then they let the dog chew on it for a while. Then they take it away from the dog and throw it away. But yeah. Now, so rendering pork and beef is pretty much the same, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
for the most part, yeah.
Which
pretty
means the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing for deer or venison, if you want to use that term.
Yeah, I think the thing
bears.
With deer are not. I mean, deer is a very, very lean meat. That's why you have to add fat to it when you make bolognas and stuff.
But
so you don't get a lot of there's some fat, but there's not a lot, not near as much as off a pig or a cow.
But you still get a lot of internal fat. That leaf fat, there's a lot of leaf fat in the deer. It's just not in the meat like it is in it doesn't marble. The meat isn't marbled like a beef. So like
unlike
somebody
bear,
said,
bear has just lots of fat.
Oh, bear is so greasy. It's
Yeah. And Kaylin mentioned something I totally forgot about too, is lamb or goat fat. Goats are probably less fattier than sheep.
Well, yeah, because sheep are usually, you're talking mutton, not lamb.
Yeah, well, sheep
lamb
graze.
Doesn't have any fat. Yeah.
Sheep graze like cows do, whereas goats
browse.
They eat anything.
They go after brush.
Yeah, they browse. They eat above their heads. Sheep graze below their feet. Goats browse above their heads. That's why when people say, "Oh, I'm going to get goats to do my lawn," no, dear, you need sheep, not goats.
Hello, Denise. Good to have you in here again. Hope you're feeling better.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Of course,
I can.
Go ahead.
I can no longer see the chat. I just want you to know, my internet has went out totally. At the house. So
Moon Over Miami came in as well. Okay, I had a squirrel moment there. I thought of something, I just lost it again. Bison. For those that are out in the western half of the United States, bison supposedly has more fat on it than cattle do.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Back to the venison. It's not a very fatty meat. Somebody was pointing out that they mixed it with pork fat in order to make a nice burger.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Venison burger. Yeah. Oh, I saw it in the chat. I didn't hear you say it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't even see it in the chat.
Yeah. Mother Garden Club said we use pork fat to make our venison sausage.
Yeah. So we usually get like a pork butt or a pork rump roast, and use that, grind that up and mix it 50-50. But now that I'm not eating pork, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Use beef tallow.
Better get some beef tallow. Maybe I better save that leaf fat from inside the venison itself.
Yeah, Shenanigans just came in. Yeah. Now, probably nobody here knows, unless you've been watching some channels from Alaska, about rendering the seal blubber or the whale blubber, or any of that stuff from the sea. But then that also brings something to mind here is it's like salmon oil, fish oil. That's a whole nother animal, isn't it?
No, you're not rendering salmon to save the fat. That's not a thing.
Okay.
No. What you do is you cook the salmon right in its own skin to preserve what fat there is in the meat to keep it moist.
There's your omega-5s and omega-8s.
And that you eat the skin with it, or at least, as close, keep it together as long as you can when you're processing it, cooking it, to get the most of those. But yeah, you're not going to get like something that you could put in a tablet and take like you get at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
One of the things, so I guess I'm going to start watching some of the more Alaska things. I know my wife used to watch a bunch of the Alaska shows and everything, but I'm not sure they ever talked about it. And, right now my wife's
TV. They can only do so much on TV.
Yeah, there is only so much they will do.
Alaska, The Last Frontier didn't talk about it so much, but what was that other show that had all the different people and they went from one person to another, and then they had the family? She had the tattoos.
It was on History Channel or whatever, or one of the channels.
Yeah. My wife watched that one. I remember that one.
That one, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name, but that family, she was indigenous, he was not, and they had all the kids and they would go out and teach the ways. I love that.
Oh, that was cool. I remember watching. Yeah, I remember seeing that one. They'd hop on a snowmobile and he couldn't shoot. Like he wasn't allowed to have a firearm for whatever reason. And then he could have black powder. I guess he could have a regular one now. Who knows? And they'd go out and get their seals and things. She could hunt the seal. He couldn't because she was indigenous. So they could get the seals and stuff. And Tammy just went dark.
Yeah. Get back here.
Yeah.
Oh, your voice is still there.
Agnes. Her name was Agnes. And she was indigenous, so she could hunt seals because it's illegal in the United States for non-indigenous people to hunt seals or whales.
Right.
Or those kinds of creatures. So he could not hunt them. He could guide her, but he could not touch the gun during those hunts. And so she was a crack shot, though. They didn't need to worry about it. And she was just fabulous. But she did address like the seal fat and.
Oh, yeah. She'd bring it back and they would skin it and fat it. She had that really cool rounded blade knife. I forget the name of it.
It's an ulu.
I want one of those. That was cool.
I have 3 of those. I love those. I have one that's,
it's like a rocker knife. There's a name for it. I forget what it is.
Ulu. ULU. Ulu.
Ulu.
Ulu. Yes. I have one made by a very famous person up there that's a numbered edition, and I absolutely love my Ulu. It's got a made with a horn handle.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give you some names here. Life Below Zero.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, that's the first one that came up. Outlast was the next one. Mountain Men, Alaska Daily, Alaska, The Last Frontier, Ultimate Survival Alaska, and Alaskan Bush People.
Oh, the Bush People was a weird one.
The last one, not so much reality as
drama.
Somebody's idea of what reality would be if they really were.
Oh, you mean like Big Brother?
At the time, weren't.
No. This is more like a wacky family with 3 kids that were weird and. Yeah, Tammy saw it a couple times. Yeah, it was like, why am I watching this? This is just dumb.
All right, so Life Below Zero has 22 seasons. It's on Hulu. Yep. And watch options.
Watch all the ones with Agnes that she is just like, if you want to learn what they really do, that was real.
Well, real to the point of they made a ton of money off of it, but yeah.
Well,
so if you have Disney or Sling, you can watch it too.
Yeah.
So you got Hulu, Disney Plus, and Sling. If you're subscribed, you can watch it there.
Apparently, Disney bought Hulu. My wife just found that out because she went to turn it on, and all of a sudden she has to log in like every time now. She's not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Alaska: The Last Frontier, I can watch it on Max, as well as Disney Plus, and
They did not renew him.
Yeah, that's that. There's only 11 seasons of that.
They did not renew Alaska: The Last Frontier, so Alvin Kilcher is doing his own YouTube channel with.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
and it's continued on. They're just filming just like they did before, but now they're doing it for themselves. It's really interesting. So
yeah, he's the one with the barge, right?
Yes, his dad is. Yeah. The one that's like MacGyver. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'm friends with the sisters on Facebook, and they're so interesting. There's so much more behind the scenes. It's pretty interesting.
You get the real story.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some more information you can get on if you're ever going to Alaska or you go on one of those hunting trips up there. You can learn a little bit before you go up.
If you need the name of a good lodge, I can find it and put it in the comments below. I have a friend who does some stuff up there.
Yeah.
And if you get your bear tag and you get a bear, yeah, let them butcher it for you, and most of their paycheck is going to be the fur, the fat, some of the other pieces of meat and stuff, and they'll whatever you can take it back home with you if you can afford to ship it back home.
Yeah,
but it's almost not worth it. It's like you just do it, so now they have something to eat, but you filled your bear tag and they're happy. That's like a tip when you go fishing out in the ocean. You leave the guy. It's like, here, I caught 28 flounder. Just give me 5. Keep the rest. There's your tip, and they're happy with that.
Yeah.
Now, Alaska's got it going. They have laws there that they're not allowed to waste food. So if there is a moose kill on the highway, they call people until they find someone to take that.
Yep.
And they also are very good about taking care of their elders. So they make sure that the elderly people are provided for. And, they got some really cool things going on there. So, like, if I wanted to go out and hunt for somebody else that can't go out and sit and shoot anymore because of their age and their physical disability, I'm allowed to fill a tag for them. Where here in Michigan, that is so illegal, and you're going to jail, and it's horrible, and
I see that on I think the channel.
They really have it.
It's Simple Living Alaska. They got 4 million followers or something. Now I was watching them way back in the day, and they'll be like, "Oh, we got a moose to go get," because the cops will call them on a phone and say, "We got a moose kill. It's big, it's small," and they have a community and a group of people they'll share it. And sometimes
they just got a calf last week.
Yep, and sometimes there's not a lot of meat on it. Other times it's huge, but it got damaged because it was a gut shot. Gut kill, and a lot of contaminated meat. So they have to go through it and do stuff with it. And then they bury the bones and keep what you can.
They don't bury the bones. They put them out on a pile. They use them.
Oh, they put them out there and put the trail cam. I saw that one. Yeah.
They're hunting bear on those bones. But
put a trail cam on there to see what's coming out.
They rendered the fat from those moose that they've taken. I think I've seen them do 3 different ones where they've rendered down the fat. They take the bones. I mean, there is nothing really left. They really, honor the animal by using every part of it.
And then you can make bone broth out of deer bones, moose, but you can make bone broth out of any animal bone, really. You're desperate and you shoot a squirrel or 100 of them. Sure, you can make squirrel bone broth, but, whatever.
When we butcher a deer, there's nothing left but the squeak.
Yep.
Now
everything else gets processed into something we can use.
What's interesting, you're talking about them for roadkill and stuff. 2 states, I can't remember which ones they are. I think West Virginia is one of them. Has changed their law where you can get on the list with your local sheriff's department, and if they have one, the state troopers or the sheriff's department will go down and start calling people.
That's what
Maryland,
come get it.
I know in Maryland, if you hit a deer and you actually stop, which is rare, usually they're just scattered all over the roads down there. And but if you hit one, and it's dead, whatever, and you can call the state troopers or whatever. They'll come out and be like, okay, and you can say, I want it. Meanwhile, your car is, $4,000 worth of damage on the front of your car. It's like, yeah, he hurt my car. I'm going to eat this sucker or what's left of it. And I mean, if it's splattered, you don't want it. But if it's just if it was a neck break, which happens a lot, they run into the side of the car, damage your door or fender. And if you stop and call the cops and you want it, yeah, they'll come over there and they'll verify it's deceased and it was your car hit. It wasn't, you weren't hunting it. You didn't need a tag. And yeah, throw it in a bag and chuck it in your trunk and take it home. I mean, Maryland will do that.
We used to have that system in Michigan. Now you just have to go online and fill out a tag and you can take it home. If you want to fill out a police report because of your car, you can, but that's not a required part of the deer process now.
Yeah, so Kaden was saying decades ago she was leaving her relative's house after the funeral, hit a deer. Local deputy offered for us to take it, get a deer tag for it. So they couldn't take it because they were out of state or whatever, so they just donated it. But yeah, I'm sorry, but when you guys talking about just brought up this funny meme I saw about last year on Facebook. I didn't save it. But basically, the guys talking about it. You can talk about your rifle doing 3,500 feet per second, whatever. Heck, I can hit a car. I can take a deer out with 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that they can donate it. Some states you can donate it to, like, there's a processors that will process it and then donate it to a food bank. And I really think that we need to be doing more of that to help feed the people that need to be fed in this country.
I've seen some oddball stuff on the road, the places I drive, and going to work one day, heading down into Virginia along one of the roads in Maryland, and I see a deer in the fast shoulder on a 2-lane road, 2-lane highway. And as I get closer, it was a road hit. Somebody took the head and took the back straps and left everything else. I'm like, really? Because you've at least taken the whole thing, but it was probably a bunch of rednecks or whatever in the middle of the night. It happened to them, or they saw it happen. They jumped out of the car with their knives and saws real quick, took what they wanted and ran like crazy. And
you knew
that
it had to have a big rack if they did that.
Oh, I'm sure it did. If they took the whole head, I'm sure. Look what I got, honey. How'd you get that one? With an F-150.
And a lot of times, the back straps might be the only thing that's any good after it's.
This is true. I mean, if it got smashed in the middle, yeah.
I'll tell you, the last deer I hit smucked out, took out the whole front end, took out our airbags, so the car was totaled, and we're put the car up there, and I'm filling out the thing with the police officer, and he goes, "Do you have a knife?" And I said, "I don't, but I'm gonna. If I have to gut this thing at home, I'm still eating it." And the tow truck guy, I'm in Redneck, Michigan. The tow truck guy goes, "I got a knife." And I gutted it right there on the side of the road, and we threw it up there with the car. Strapped that baby down too. Yep. If I was going to have that much damage to my car, I was at least going to have some hamburger.
You're getting something out of it. At least you're going to eat the culprit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so guys, right now I'm at 5,465 subscribers. When we hit 5,500, we'll have a giveaway. So there'll be several $50 Amazon gift cards given away and a bunch of $5 ones once we hit 5,500 and it sticks.
Yeah. It literally has to go to like 5,550 before it's going to stick it above 5,500.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth. My leg hurts so bad tonight. I have to bend it. Then I have to straighten it.
Sounds like you need a little bit of that bear salve.
Yeah, I need a little bear fat.
Now, interesting about that. One of my wife's really good friends has rheumatoid arthritis really bad. Is bear fat supposed to be able to help that?
Yes. In theory, I cannot give you any medical advice. It does not replace
in
the
theory,
advice.
yeah, in theory.
In theory, I have been told by old timers, including my own parents, that will work for them. But I can only give you anecdotal
Anecdotal,
evidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can only tell old wives' tales.
Yes. Yes.
On it. And unconfirmed ancient history. 100 years ago.
Well, my grandpa got horse liniment and peppermint oil, and that's what he used for his. And Burt's Bees original formula smells like my grandfather.
Glenn's here, How to Garden. Hey, Glenn, are you in the path of this next one as well? Or are you a little bit safer from it? Now, there's a couple channels were mentioning comments. One said they're heading to Miami. They're packing up and heading down to Miami. So there are some people that are getting out of the way. I forget the channel now. They're up in southern Georgia, and they're watching the outlying line to find out whether they got to head north for that hurricane as well.
Yeah. So, hey, going back to the original topic, Tammy.
Yes.
How do I can fat? That was the topic. We didn't even talk about canning it. We just talked about rendering it.
We just talked about what it was. Once you get it rendered and you get it in your jars, there's two schools of thought. So if you go to the powers that be, they say that you can pour it into sterilized dry, because you don't want that water in there, jars, and I use sterilized and I meant sanitized, but you know what I mean. Jars, put the lid on, let it seal. I don't do that. I don't know why. It never works for me. I get mold. Maybe I don't get enough water out of it. I don't know what I do wrong. It never works for me. So what I do is I take it, put it in. I leave 1.5 inch headspace in my jar, and then I process it just like I would for meat. So I do pints at 75 minutes, 10 pounds of pressure, and I do quarts at 90 minutes, 10 pounds of pressure.
Okay.
Well, there you have it.
And then
Question.
it's shelf-stable for 20 years, and it's still good to use for eating or soap. Go ahead.
Question on the two things you described. So on the I guess that the first one is kind of like an open kettle type process.
Yes.
Okay.
And
open kettle, sort of.
You don't even need
a
boil jar.
My jars are clean.
Yeah.
My fat is super strained, so it's like just liquid gold. And it's usually above 250 degrees, which is not good to do into a jar. Just make sure your jar is not out of the fridge. And I pour it in there, and it doesn't shock that. I mean, I got good jars. It doesn't shock it and crack, but I do always do it in a large pan in case it decides to say, I'm not doing this, and dump fat everywhere, because you don't want to be cleaning up hot fat and broken glass off your kitchen floor and counters for the next month, and the dog trying to lick it.
So what I was thinking is,
it doesn't even have to.
I'm not even sure this is going to work. If you're doing it, the open jar, you got the jars nice and hot, you pour in the hot fat in it, you get it to the top. Before you put that lid on, if you do like old preserves, you have a pot of wax, you pour some wax on top of it.
No, because the paraffin will actually mix with your fat.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of.
It's too hot.
I see someone thinking that, and I want to make sure that
fat and wax are both very similar in their specific gravity. They will both float on water. You mix the two together, and you're done. Go ahead, Tammy. You.
But way back, I started to say something, and I got interrupted. Sorry. You do not even need to put it in a canning jar. You can put it in a crock with just a gauze and, string. You do not have to put it in a canning jar. Now, obviously, that's not going to last as long as something that you have keep the oxygen out of, but it will stay good for almost a year in a cool environment, just packed
Keep the
into
bugs
a
out.
crock. Yeah, just keep the bugs out, keep the dirt out, keep the dust out. Obviously, it'll go rancid over time in an oxygen environment over an oxygen free, but you don't have to. You can buy lard in the store in plastic tubs with just a plastic lid on. Now they put a seal over
the
them.
last thing you want to do is take your jar without a lid on it and put it in a pot of boiling water, because some of that water is going to splash and get in there. You don't want that.
Right.
So you're either going to put a lid on it and a ring, finger tight, and do some kind of processing with it, or pour it in hot, bring it up high, throw the cap and the ring on there like I do, because I'm like ultra rebel on my fats, and it'll seal by itself because the air is hot, and as it cools down, it pulls down. You know, mine has zero moisture in it, or at least as far as I know, no moisture. And any water is going to sink to the very, very bottom anyway. So if there's a couple droplets in there, it'll be at the bottom. The top of your fat will probably still be fine. It's when you get down low, that's when you're going to have a problem. But always stick your nose in the jar and it's like, yep, smells like nothing.
Yep.
Until you heat, even when you heat it up, it doesn't smell like roast beef. It's fat. Yep. Unless you made it brown like one of my jars.
So one of those big like bale jars would work good too.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. The pioneers put it in bladders. They would, whatever animal that they had processed, they would clean out the bladder and use it as a pouch and put that back in there and leave it in there. Or they would use the skin, like buffalo skin pouches, and make pemmican. Pemmican is basically rendered fat that has had berries and other things added to it to make it have a flavor, because it has no flavor by itself.
Yeah, and you could actually store beef or a meat in its own fat after you render it down.
Yeah.
You can put meat in there as long as it's covered and it got hot. You can store the meat in there. I don't think I have a need to do that anytime soon. But
I have accidentally done that in my refrigerator. I've larded pork chops where you have a fat on the bottom and fat over the top of them, and lost them in the back of my refrigerator and pulled them out, and they look as good as the day they went in there. Now, did I eat them? No.
Just fine.
They did. They didn't. There was no smell to them at all. Just smelled like pork chops. Nothing. And they were beautiful. Didn't change any colors. There was nothing. You can actually lard food and put it away in crocks that way, and put it in like your spring or a cool house and keep it for quite a long time. That was,
you do what you can do.
So, Helena, my channel name is Camppatton Family Compound, hence the CFC on my name, Camppatton Family Compound.
Yeah, not to be confused with chlorofluorocarbons, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We discussed that in another live a few months back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
now, all right, I'm going to show you something here. Don't laugh too hard or don't groan too hard when you see from left to right, number 2 and number 4, number 2 and 4. So number 1 is 42 ounces for $30.
Yep.
This one here is 5 ounces for $24. Wait a minute. This is face moisturizer tallow balm.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 4 pounds for $32. Then you have what is this? 4 ounces for $39.
Yeah. Grass-fed beef tallow. Was it grass finished or grass-fed? That's a difference.
Yeah.
But this is body and face and body whipped moisturizer.
It's whipped fat.
It's whipped fat.
So you're not even getting the whole thing. You're getting air.
That's right. You're getting mostly air.
50% air in that container. Sorry, you told me not to laugh too long.
It says 4 fluid ounces. Yeah, was fluid. 4 fluid ounces of 1 ounce of fat and 3 ounces by volume of air.
All right, this one here,
it's so good.
this one on the left here, this bucket here is 7 pounds for $46. Basically, that's $5.57 a pound, or $5.75 a pound.
Just go buy a fatty roast, eat the roast, and wear the fat.
Yeah, save the fat. Buy a cow. You're better off.
So then you can go check. If this is on Amazon, you look through it, figure out what price for you. Yeah. So there is you can buy this as tallow, and if I go back to the top, I can put in lard, and there's your South Chicago packing can of lard. And then you got the other ones here going along, so
yeah.
Figure out.
You can
go ahead.
You can do this at home.
The price of lard is more than twice as much as price of tallow.
Yeah, which is funny. Not really.
And if you go make friends with your local butcher.
Yeah.
The green one there on the $9.99 one. That's what we have in our stores here.
Yeah, that's Armor.
Armor brand. Yep, that's
that's 1 pound.
So what would I'll ask Tammy? I love asking Tammy questions because she has the good answers, and I could talk about it, but I want her to answer. So I have a jar of beef lard.
No,
what can I use it for? Beef tallow. What can I use it for?
Anything you want. I would make pie crust out of it. I would use it for savory pie crust. Beef tallow has a little bit more of a taste, so you're going to want to use it for savory things. Lard is very tasteless, so it's very perfect for sweet things like making a pie crust for a sweet pie. But if you're making a savory pie where you're making like a pot pie, use that tallow in place of other fats in your pie crust because it makes it flaky. I also use it to make soap. And you can make soap with it, and it's very good for your skin. But use it to condition your cast iron. I use lard mostly, but now that I am pork free, I have to use tallow. So you can also use it to treat wood, treat anything you want waterproofed, all sorts of things. I think we covered a lot of them, and you can use it to preserve food.
Okay. So
did I get the whole list?
Yeah. I just wanted you to roll out your list of things you use to cook it for, like biscuits and stuff. If you're going to do, biscuits and gravy, use beef lard if you have it.
It makes it flakier.
Yeah.
That was the secret to my aunt's pie crust was lard. I always wondered why her pie crust was better than everybody else's. It was always
everybody else used Crisco.
Yeah, and hers was lard. It's really good.
I don't want to talk about Crisco.
Guys, since you brought up Crisco, I got to tell a story on my step grandfather.
All my fault.
Okay.
My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, when she was mad at Rolly, my step grandfather, who owned the catering company, they would get the butter that was white, and they get the coloring packet with it. Well, she took the coloring packet, took Crisco, plopped it in the thing, squirted the coloring on it, mixed up the Crisco so it looked like butter, and served it to him, and he didn't know the difference.
Ew.
Oh.
Which tells you that, and they also did the same thing with margarine. When they switched to margarine, it came white with the packet, which means, wait, the margarine and Crisco.
Yeah, basically the same, minus one molecule for plastic. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyways,
my father would always tell me the story that they would go to Thanksgiving dinner at grandma's house or his mother's house, and she always made an apple pie and mincemeat pie, all the different pies, made it with whatever she made it with. That wasn't the story, and everybody admired the pattern on her crust around the pie. They're like, how do you do that? She's like, it's just a thing I do. She wouldn't tell him until my dad walked into the kitchen because he was the youngest of three, like 10-year difference, youngest of three. He was an oops. He walked into the kitchen when he was like 12. Mom's making pies. She didn't hear him. She pops her bridge out of her front teeth and starts making, and I mean, literally just popped it out. She might have rinsed it off. Who knows? And made her pie crust. And nobody had a clue until he said so. Of course, after that, nobody would eat her pie anymore because her teeth touched it. But whatever. Yeah, I thought it was the funniest thing. I'm like, that's cool. I can come up with some cool patterns, but I never thought of a denture pattern in your pie crust.
My mom always did the pinch, but her fingers were overlapped, so she pinched with her finger overlapped.
Yep.
All right, so I dropped the link in there for Lee at Cold War Prepper. His topic tonight is guerrilla dispatch. He'll be starting here in about 3 minutes or so. And there's the link for Cold War Prepper. Coming up, is the farmers market still going on?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
so
they never go on this long.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Here neither. I mean, they're talking about going, until the temperature drops a certain temperature because farmers wanting to sell, and usually they wrap it up this Saturday, and they're talking about going for another 3 Saturdays. Because the temperature's out there. There is no freezing temperature for the next 21 days. All right. Coming up tomorrow on my other channel, Gray Man Prepping. That's Gray with an A. Backup cooking stoves for when power is out. And, of course, I'll be talking about my little indoor-outdoor propane one as well. Wednesday night is going to be the midnight ride with Gray Man Prepping because Thursday night is the city council meeting, and as soon as it's over, I'm going to bed because I'm driving to California for that 12-hour trip starting at 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. Friday night, though, I am going live at 8 o'clock Eastern time, p.m. And the topic is wildfires. Do you have a plan? And because we're hitting wildfire season, and there's some wicked wildfires going on out there.
We are under a no-burn advisory here.
Yeah, we're under a no-burn advisory here, too, except that when we get some rain, they say, okay, guys, you got 12 hours to burn. And then they say, all right, burn's over as vegetation starts to dry out. Okay, so Saturday on Gray Man Prepping, the topic is, are you financially ready? And I'm hoping to get the staff sergeant in on this because the staff sergeant is an accountant and works for one of the nation's largest property management companies. Next Monday here is kind of tied in a little bit to this when we talk about canning butter, aka ghee. Talk about how to prepare it, how to can it, and ways to use it. So that's what next Monday's all about. And let's see, side chat. Kaylin says still very dry in central Iowa. We have no burn here in West Virginia. We've been in a drought. Finally got lifted last week. And Kaylin says there are farmers markets going on. And all righty. So that's what's going on. Mark, are you going to be doing anything? You going to do another pop-up live like you did before sometime?
So my vacation is Friday and all next week. And I'll be out at the cabin, which has, well, the service is getting a little better as the leaves fall off the trees. So I might do something out there.
Cool.
I'll be doing a lot of, I actually just bought a log splitter tonight, and I'll be picking it up Saturday, going to my buddy's house to break it in. Then it's going out to the cabin and staying out there. What's that?
Don't be like my son. Keep your fingers out of it.
Oh, I've used log splitters many times.
I warned him about this, and then he reached for one that was falling.
I'm just sick of trying to. I got 20-inch diameter oak logs that I can split them. I mean, if I start on the side and start splitting them that way with an axe, but I hate it.
Yeah.
And my buddy,
I got 48-inch diameter logs out here that I'm going to have to cut with a chainsaw and start putting wedges in it to use the sledgehammer to split it to get it to go small enough to go on a splitter.
Nah, you can, because the splitter I bought, you can stand it up and you don't have to pick it up. You can like slide it over to it and it'll push down on it. You just gotta get it cracked in the right spots. As long as it doesn't get stuck on the wedge, you're okay.
Just buy a super long blade and make tables out of them. Cut them the other way and make them into tables.
I've made a couple slabs out of it. I sliced one the long way with my chainsaw, put it on I took logs and just put V wedges in them. And yeah, I have like a bench that's on my porch. And I will stack my firewood on it to keep it dry.
The other thing I can do is what we used to do back when I worked for Mountain Cascade Incorporated in California. We had to take a 235 or 245 Caterpillar excavator, put tiger teeth on it, and just go over and just go pop, 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 sweep it off the side, drag another one out, pop, pop, pop. Yeah.
It's a little excessive on the diesel and the cost of the machine, but I think my log splitter will be just fine.
Hey, we had to get the logs out of the job site anyways, and so during lunchtime we go over and start splitting our logs, and everybody taking firewood home.
I got a bunch of black walnut that's now 3 years old. We cut down and left in 14-foot lengths, stacked off the ground. I cut a piece off of that and put it on the chopping block, and with my hardest hit, my 9-pound maul bounced. I'm like, we're done. I'm not playing with this crap anymore. I'm getting a log splitter. I can't do this.
All right. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Everyone, a reminder, Geeky Gardens and How to Garden are in Florida. They're in the path. But fortunately, they're both on the east side, and it should be down to a 1. Hopefully, they'll be down less than a 1 by the time it gets to them.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Take care, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow over on Gray Man Prepping at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Take care.
Good night.